Good afternoon. A teenage boy walks into the dance studio at his local high school here in Los Angeles. And when he walks in, it's an 85-degree day, and he has on a hoodie, of course. He has his hood up, he has his arms crossed, and he beelines all the way across to the back wall. He's making it very clear through all of his nonverbal communication that he does not want to be here in this class. The class hasn't even started yet, and there was so much energy in the room. Young people talking to each other and giggling. The drummers are all set up. Everything is ready to go. There's excited energy, but he's standing there watching, looking. Again, giving us all indication that he does not want to be here. That day, I am introducing a traditional West African dance. And so the drumming starts, and everyone gets in a line. And each line then crosses the floor with the step that I've taught them. And after several lines have gone, of course, some people are catching it, some are kind of struggling, but everybody is trying. After a few minutes, something very interesting happens. He steps on the dance floor and gets in one of the lines. His movements are a little hesitant at first, but slowly they become stronger. He gets more connected. He starts to feel the drums. You can see his shoulders lift. You can see his posture change. He's in it. Over the next few weeks, I observe that something in him begins to shift. He's coming to the class a little earlier. He's greeting the drummers. He's actually looking like he's having a good time. He even is helping some of the younger students who may be struggling. The teachers tell me, he's acting a lot better in class. What happens is not just that he has learned dance. He has now encountered culture and identity. The thing that is the most profound is not just what I observed in him, but what he came to me one day and said, which was, I didn't even know we had stuff like this. And that point struck me, and it stayed with me, because we know that all people need to have identity. What changed for him, again, was not just learning the dance, but being connected. And when society talks about young people from marginalized communities, we often hear the exact same thing. We talk about broken homes, we talk about poverty, we talk about bad neighborhoods, lack of discipline. And while those challenges are very real, over time I've noticed something with my work with young people. That the most transformative moments do not happen when we lecture them about their behavior. Those moments happen when young people encounter culture. Positive, relevant, affirming culture. That realization resonated with me because I recognized something in myself. You see, as a teenager, I also struggled. I also had an issue with identity. I remember not knowing who I was, where I was from, and much less where in the world I was going. Like many teens, I made poor choices. But after several serendipitous events occurred, I began to learn about African culture. And what I learned shocked me. It was the antithesis of everything I had ever been taught or shown. It was totally different than what I had imagined. For the first time, I learned about African culture, African civilizations, African societies that were highly evolved, that the origin of mathematics was in Africa, that the origin of civilization was in Africa, the origin of science, mathematics, engineering, the first to create measuring tools, the highly evolved societies in Kumasi, whom had indoor plumbing in each and every home at a time that people in Europe were throwing their waste out into the streets. I never knew any of that. The universities in Timbuktu, the highly evolved societies in Nubia and in ancient Egypt, the people who were successful, who looked like me. These leadership traditions, this art, this beauty, this science, was something that absolutely jarred me. These highly functioning societies that had been destroyed through colonization and invasions, these places in which I had only seen the aftermath of, and the images that I had been taught to be ashamed of. These beautiful traditions that existed long before this history that I had been exposed to growing up. And I remember thinking, if I had known this before, what different decisions would I have made about my life? That realization has changed how I approach working with young people. So when I began, I started paying attention to what actually helped them to grow. And I noticed that those biggest changes, those changes did not happen through our lectures and through our behavioral programs. They happened when we introduced young people to culture and to positive identity. So we began introducing culture through African dance, drumming, music, history, and we saw something change in our communities. We noticed something remarkable, that students who were disengaged often became curious, that students who didn't have confidence or self-efficacy began to believe in themselves, that young people who struggled with getting in trouble actually developed their own sense of discipline. At first, I thought that what I was seeing was simply pride, but over time, I realized that this was something different. And the research in psychology actually supports this idea. Young people who develop a strong sense of culture or ethnic identity often show higher self-esteem, greater resilience, and greater psychological well-being. Because identity shapes how we see ourselves, and how we see ourselves determines how we move throughout the world. And many of the choices that we make, some of these behaviors that we are seeing in young people that we feel that we need to correct are actually symptoms of something different, a missing or a misdirected sense of self-identity. Because when young people discover more about who they are and the greatness that is within them, their behavior begins to change. One year, as we were conducting our annual Kwanzaa camp, which happens at the end of each year, on the second day of the camp, a grandmother came in and asked to speak with me. And of course, I said, "Yes, ma'am." She asked me, "What is umoja?" I said, "Umoja means unity. That's the principle that we focused on yesterday." She said, "Oh, okay. Because this child came in the house yesterday and washed up all the dirty clothes, and she said she wanted to bring some umoja in here, and I didn't know what she was talking about." Maybe we've been asking the wrong questions as it relates to our young people. Maybe, as we think about these young people who are struggling, instead of asking what is wrong with them, maybe we should say, what have we actually taught them? What have we actually given them? Many of the challenges that we see in these marginalized communities are not caused by a lack of talent, and definitely not by a lack of intelligence or intellect. They're caused by a cultural disconnection. I would even say by cultural misinformation. But when young people understand who they really are, they gain more than pride. They gain resilience, direction, and discipline. Because culture comes with a foundation that shapes how they see themselves and how they move throughout the world. So what do we do with this information? We give young people identity. Parents can share family stories and traditions. Educators can share history that is relevant, in which young people can see themselves and see themselves in positive lights. Communities can introduce culture through music, movement, dance, history, even conversations with the elders. And this is not about believing that one culture is better than another. Cultural identity is not about superiority, it's about rootedness. Because when people feel secure in who they are, they're more likely to learn about those others who are around them. And this is something that every culture understands. We see it in cultural communities in which they share their traditions. We see it in indigenous communities where they are reconnecting to their culture, and we see it in young people when they actually hear and learn about the stories of triumph of their own ancestry. Young people everywhere are searching for belonging. They're searching for connectedness, for meaning, and for direction. And sometimes the most powerful thing that we can give them is not just another rule. Sometimes they actually need roots. Because when young people learn where they are from and who they are, they begin to carry themselves different. And they begin to move through the world with a new sense of purpose. When a generation grows up with that kind of foundation, they don't just change their own future. They help to reshape the future of our community. Thank you.